The drums didn't stop that night, and the air reeked of blood and fear. That was the first sign something was wrong. The air was too still, heavy with a sense of dread that clung to my skin. It was the night the villagers finally rose against King Olawu, the wicked ruler of our land. Olawu was no ordinary king. He ruled with fear, his power rooted in darkness. The elders said he was protected by spirits, malevolent ones. People who defied him disappeared. Children vanished from their beds. We whispered about the feast held deep in his palace, where no one dared to enter uninvited. I was just a girl when it happened, chosen that evening to carry offerings to the king's palace, a task I had no choice but to accept. To refuse was to invite death, not just for me but for my family. My mother's face was pale as she hugged me before I left, her hands trembling as she whispered, "Be strong." We were a small group, each carrying baskets of food, yams, goat meat, and fruit. But we knew the truth, these offerings weren't enough to satisfy the king. He always took more than we could afford to lose. The palace loomed at the edge of the forest, a massive structure surrounded by thorn-covered walls. The guards at the gate were silent, their faces emotionless. I could feel their eyes on us as we entered. Inside, the air grew colder. Shadows flickered on the walls, and the king's throne sat atop a raised platform, draped in animal skins and bones. King Olawu was waiting, his massive frame hunched forward like a predator ready to pounce. His crown of bones glinted in the torchlight. "Step forward," he growled, his voice sending shivers through my spine. We obeyed, setting down the baskets and stepping back. But the king's eyes weren't on the food, they were on us. His nostrils flared, and a sickening grin spread across his face. "I smell fear," he said, rising from his throne. "Good. Fear keeps you obedient." The drums outside suddenly changed, the steady rhythm breaking into a wild, chaotic beat. The king froze, his grin faltering. A low murmur spread through the hall as his guards exchanged uneasy glances. "What is this?" Olawu demanded. The answer came in the form of flames. Outside, the villagers had gathered, torches in hand. Their voices were a roar of defiance, a sound I had never thought I'd hear. At their head was the village priest, a man who had always seemed powerless against the king's tyranny until now. The priest stepped forward, his voice carrying over the noise. "Olawu, your reign of terror ends tonight. You have spilled innocent blood for too long. The spirits you claim to serve demand justice." Olawu laughed, though there was unease in his eyes. "Foolish old man," he spat. "I am their chosen one. Do you think your torches and chants can harm me?" The priest began to speak, chanting in a language I didn't recognize. The torches flared brighter, casting strange, shifting shadows on the palace walls. The air grew heavier, almost suffocating, and then I saw them, shapes in the darkness. At first, they were just shadows, but as the priest's chanting grew louder, they took form, faces twisted in pain and anger, eyes burning with fury. The whisper started then, low and menacing, growing louder until they drowned out the drums. The king staggered back, his bravado cracking. "No," he roared. "You cannot touch me. I am your master." But the shadows moved closer, their voices rising in a deafening crescendo. The guards dropped their spears, stepping away as the villagers surged forward. For the first time, King Olawu was truly alone. I don't know what happened next. The shadows enveloped him, and his screams echoed through the hall, blending with the cries of the spirits. The villagers set the palace ablaze, the flames consuming everything. By morning, nothing remained but ashes. Olawu's name was never spoken again, his legacy reduced to a cautionary tale. And me. I survived, though sometimes I wish I hadn't. On quiet nights, I still hear the drums and his screams.